Hey everyone, welcome to the Kinda Late Show. I'm your host, Terence. I've haven't thought of anything good to say to follow that one today. Today I'm honored by my guest, my family, Anika, for the first time on
Hi.
screen.
I know. Technology stopped being sexist.
And you should have been here for
No,
episode
that
one.
was the joke for 2 episodes. Is I was off screen
Yeah.
because we couldn't set up the third mic.
So, and my cousin Daniel.
Yes, hello. I am cousin.
So here we are. Welcome. You can skid in a bit more.
I can scoot in more.
Yeah.
Oh, let me scooch in a little closer. Let me just not hit the mic. You can't see my girlish figure.
You're very full. You're very full figure.
It didn't used to be.
You know, it took work. It took work and dedication.
Yeah, and lots of Slim Jims. I want to thank 7-Eleven for feeding my.
I just remember distinctly hearing something about a tamale.
Oh no, yeah.
Sandwich.
Okay, that was like hands down the best thing I've ever had on the bus was
A tamale.
inside of a bolillo. Don't knock it till you try it. When you're hungry, it fills you up.
All right.
And it
So
fills me up.
let's go over. Start hitting some topics.
Okay.
So first, I want to go over because we have my cousin Daniel here. He is one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know. He's been one of the biggest influences of pop culture in mine and Annika's life, as he is older than us.
Yo, gonna make you cry.
So, one of the things I want to talk about mostly of Star Wars is one. I think it's pretty unanimous that fans weren't happy with the new trilogy, with the Disney trilogy. We can kind of get into specifics in a bit.
It's
I mean,
like
if
that's
you want
so divisive as the fandom.
Like as far as understatements go.
Yeah,
that's-
but I mean,
I'm like, and everyone has a different one that they think is bad, which is the interesting
well, and
part.
rather than focusing on what we thought was bad, I want to focus on what we thought was good.
Okay, we can do that.
Because what's been
But
good,
that's not fun. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
we can highlight the bad as we go through the good.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
That's right.
So,
Definitely something I want to say that is like good about the new trilogy is that it keeps the feel of Star Wars. Like, there's been discussion as to what's the main difference between Star Trek and Star Wars, and the biggest like kind of click that I've ever heard was that Star Trek is a utopia, so everything's perfect.
Right.
Where Star Wars is very dystopian, and even in like the most perfect of times, like even in the earlier,
it's in the name Star Wars.
yeah, it's
Completely.
yeah, but it's not always conflict, but even just the world is still trying to like, or I guess the universe is trying to build off of the scraps that they have. Like it's things aren't symmetrical. You have lots of like, oh, this might look perfect on one side, but on the other side, it's very.
That's very fair. Now, knowing your background in Star Wars, can I ask, do you feel the prequel trilogies had that feeling? Because I know you're not the biggest prequel fan.
I am not the biggest prequel fan.
But-
However, in more recent times, yeah, I know you're
Yeah,
all.
I love the
I
prequels.
love
I was a child. Those are my golden
Yeah,
years.
and-
Like that's
And I get that, like it's very generational. It comes out to what you watched growing up as a child, and I was still young enough to where I enjoyed the prequels in that essence, but I had an entire like
yeah. You were coming up on
chunk
your
of years.
teen years.
Yeah, I was,
Your childhood was
the originals.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, my favorite is Empire Strikes Back because it is the best one, except for Dagobah. That's a little slow, but that's a whole other.
Dagobah kind of slows the
Yeah,
movie down a
it's,
bit.
the pacing is a little off, but
That's the kind of way I feel about the pacing of the original trilogy in general.
Mhm.
I feel watching the original trilogy can be a bit of a slog for a more modern
yeah
movie consumer because we've gotten used to more fast-paced stories, which it's nice to when you go because the whole pacing of the original trilogy, that's very much of the film of the 70s. That's you watch a film from the 70s, it's going to have these long drawn out scenes, and that was just filmmaking at the time.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, no, this was like we're going to change this by making it faster. So no, our perception of filmmaking and what made strong scenes, it changed over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely has become more fast paced. It's less about the story and more about the show.
Very much so.
And that's where there is that kind of transition within the original, or the prequels, I should say. I was going to say the original sequels, but they're prequels. with those ones, I do feel like they had that essence of Star Wars primarily because George Lucas was still at the helm. So if anyone who's gonna know what the feel of Star Wars is,
It's gonna
It's
be
George.
the
It's the guy
creator.
that made it.
Yeah.
and
no.
that's where going into the sequels, this newer sequel trilogy, you don't have him anymore. He's not included. It's three new, or it was supposed to be three new directors, two new directors, but they're all helmed by the one executive producer of Kathleen Kennedy, and she was the only one who carried over from that classic Lucas era.
Well, and that's just it. Is Kathleen Kennedy came from classic Lucas
Yeah.
era, and then you had the entire fandom like, well, this woman's responsible for everything that's
Yeah.
wrong. And it's like, but she produced so much of the movies that
So
made your
much of-
childhood.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, oh, she's the problem, and it's not that she's the problem. The problem is that a lot of the fandom is just not down with change. Like in any aspect, like this is something that they hold sacred. Don't change it in any which way. Don't change the way that Luke thinks. Don't change the way that Han feels. Like don't change these aspects of these characters that I know and love because they mean so much more to me than they do to you. To you, they're just characters in a movie. To me, they are
They're my heroes.
yeah. And so that's where it becomes. It's kind of like a cry about it moment for the fandom. It's just like, well, they can't always be that. They are supposed to be people.
They're humans that
Yeah,
grow.
They're humans that grow. Things aren't always the same. In the beginning of Force Awakens, they're not really back at war yet. They kind of are. They're trying to suppress a war. It's like a guerrilla war, but they're not full-fledged like rebellion. And then even in the prequels, like the first one, they weren't even at war yet. Like,
Yeah,
No,
it was again.
a-
It was the starts
a
and seeds of a
political
war.
yeah,
move.
it was
Yeah.
the seeds of a war that was getting planted, and
Which I know how your big thing is watching Phantom Menace is you've said nothing happens.
no, yeah, there's no relevant information that happens in the Phantom Menace other than Obi-Wan comes across Anakin.
What about Chancellor Palpatine comes to power? He
Chancellor-
becomes the Chancellor in that movie.
He does become the Chancellor, but the question is, did you really need to see it?
I think so.
I mean, okay, but
I think it makes the fall of him that much stronger because you see him meeting Anakin, and that's that's gonna be Vader.
but but he meets Anakin and he says two words that we'll meet, or like one.
We'll
sentence.
watch your future.
We'll watch your future with
great interest.
Great interest. Like that's it. That's all he says to him, and then he pushes him aside and keeps walking. Like that's where a lot of what Phantom Menace suffers from is that every other Star Wars movie has a main character that you can attach to. Like it's an ensemble film. Like you have many main characters and they all have their arcs, but there's always one central character that you're following.
Well, and I would argue that, and you would say this is why the movie suffers. I'd argue the main character is Qui-Gon Jinn, but you would say the movie suffers because by the end of it, he's dead.
Yeah,
so
and
it's not like it really matters.
It's not so much that like because it does focus a lot on Qui-Gon Jinn and he would be the central character, but he doesn't add anything to it. Like it's just you're watching someone just kind of walk down the street without looking at but all these things are happening behind him, but you're watching the person walk down the street. Like I mean, yes, he finds Anakin. Okay.
Well,
cool.
and I feel like that type of relation. I think it was important to show that structure because I feel the emotional journey of Anakin is very much something that's overlooked, but it's a strong undertone in the movie, which is again he didn't have this connection to his parents, and that's something that he longed for and thought he was going to get from the Jedi, but the Jedi were like, that's not what we're about.
That's true. I mean, that's very much what seems to be for what Anakin's arc was set up to be. But I don't know. My issue with Qui-Gon is that.
Which I'll agree that should have been the central arc of all of it, as opposed to the political aspect of it.
There was so much political, and I get it. The political part is just trying to establish the war that's going to come up, which is going to lead to the other war, which is going to lead to the eventual, resolution at the end of the original trilogy. But there's just if the entire point of the movie was to reach a younger audience, and here you are coming in with politics, with trade negotiations, embargoes.
I don't know what you're talking about. 14-year-old queen. That was awesome.
Jar Jar said something funny. Like that's what as a child that's what I'm picking up. But like,
Well, see, as a child, I was like, "Whoa, lightsabers!"
yeah, and then that was I see where that was like his focus on having a fully fledged Jedi as like the central character with his Padawan. That they bring in this aspect of the old Republic, the old Jedi way, and all these lightsaber duels that were commonplace in Jedi times, but not so much in the new era when all the Jedi have been slaughtered. There's one old guy who knows what Jedi used to be, and he's fighting super slow. A robot man who is so damaged that he can't fight super fast, and this guy who can
Who has no formal training.
yeah, who has no formal training, almost chops his hand off a few times. Let's never forget that he looked down the barrel of a lightsaber. That almost ended the saga real quick. But yeah, I mean, it goes either way. But I do feel like the prequels do have that sort of Star Wars feel, the same way as the sequels. Where the sequels lacked is what the prequels had. The prequels had a very definitive end goal. Like, regardless of where it started.
Whereas the sequel trilogy was started by J.J. Abrams, the guy that made Lost.
Yeah, and like, okay, yeah, like, really? Like, you're gonna do this? Have we ever talked about the smoke monster? Like, where did that go?
Well, and it's like, well, and that's that's one of my big problems with everyone, oh, Rian Johnson derailed everything. It's like, okay, but J.J. Abrams never made the tracks.
Yeah, well, he did, but like, he didn't
have a plan for where it was going to go.
Yeah, he didn't really. I feel like he did have a plan for where it was going to end up in his mind, which is where we kind of when he took over for number 9. I don't remember what number 9 is called.
Rise of Skywalker. I have only seen Rise of Skywalker once.
Same here.
Yeah.
I own it. I've only seen it once.
And the Force Awakens, we saw twice in theaters, because the first time we were like, cool, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The second time we were like, we need to go see it again because I think that was bad and I need to be sure.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel the second time around. I mean, I still enjoy.
I tried watching The Force Awakens last week. I could not do it. I could not. As soon as Han Solo and Chewie got into the Millennium Falcon, I was done. I was just laughing. The whole thing was just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I think the big thing that the newer movies, the sequel trilogies, suffer from is, it's kind of a weird complaint about it. It's they utilize a lot of imagery that's from modern filmmaking when it comes to like war movies.
Yeah.
Because like the scene where the stormtroopers putting the bloody hand, there's no blood in Star Wars. There's never been blood in Star Wars. If it is, it's a little drip on and it's usually discolored.
Let's
never forget that Obi-Wan chopped off the hand.
That's fair. That's fair. But like, it just, I don't know. It didn't.
But they've like chopped bodies in half in Star Wars,
and
and there's like no blood.
There has been a minimal amount of blood, and they definitely were going for that more raw, like.
I'm like, and it's not even just that scene. There's like multiple scenes
I didn't get to it in Force Awakens, but when they're on Takananada, and it's like TIE fighters, a desert storm.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
There's definitely a lot
of Star Wars.
That's not Star Wars.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of shots that just didn't feel that like.
Star Wars.
And then I feel like and I don't think any of the 3 movies nailed this right, which was starfighting. I didn't feel like starfighting was done right till I started watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're finally starfighting again. This is starfighting in Star Wars. This is how this should look.
Well, see, where The Mandalorian benefits is that it takes place right after Return of the Jedi, so it still has that like post-war like raw feeling, and everyone's still trying to figure out what's happening.
That whole picking up the scraps feeling.
Picking up the scraps feeling, and it's just like, all right, well, the Empire's gone. I can't even use their money now. Well, what do I do? I'm a bounty hunter. I work for money, and you're gonna give me Republic credits that no one's taking yet because it's not real money, like
crypto.
Yeah. Why are you paying me in Doge?
Bitcoin, Doge.
Like Grogu coin?
Yeah, like Grogu coin.
What's the other one? Shiba.
Shiba.
Sure.
There's the Elon.
Nah, we got to get that Bantha coin started.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Which, okay, controversial.
Oh no.
I liked The Last Jedi. I really liked the movie, but my expectations were so low going into it.
That's fair. That explains why.
I did not expect to like it. I didn't go into it like, oh, I want to like this. I went into this like, this is gonna be. I went to see it without Anika, because she was like, no, I'm out. After Force Awakens, I'm out.
Yeah, I was, and then he went to see
and
it,
then I
and
went
he
to go
was
see it by
like,
myself, and I was like, this
is really good.
this
dude.
was
You should
really
go
good.
see it. And I was like, okay.
And I didn't just think it was good. I thought it was really good.
I also enjoyed The Last Jedi when I first saw it. What I didn't like about it were just little nitpicky things here and there.
And that's okay.
And
There's always
it's
something.
more reflective of kind of what was happening at the time. Carrie Fisher had just died, and so I was like, they did that scene where she gets blown out into space. That would have been the logical and perfect way for her to. That's it. That's the end of Princess Leia. She died in battle. She was a war hero. That's it. But they had to bring her back for some reason for her to show up for 10 minutes at the end of the movie. Like, okay, I guess, but that's where it's like, it wasn't even subverting my expectations. It's just, it was a nitpicky sort of like, I didn't like that because they had that perfect out for her.
And they didn't take it.
They went a different route, and I guess narratively it kind of worked because it brought Luke back into the fold.
I mean,
and everything.
It also kind of bit him in the butt because
well, and let's face it, they made a lot of those narrative choices before she died.
Yeah, I guess,
and it was basically like what they do to speedsters in movies, which is they nerf them and take them out. You have to take them out of the picture for a bit.
And
which hot take, I don't think they should have brought back in the original 3 actors.
I support this.
I understand why they did, and it's a passing of the torch. That's all it was. It was passing of the torch.
I think they should have full on recasted new actors.
You think?
I don't think it would have been weird because we've had 2 actors play Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've had multiple actors play Darth Vader.
Anakin Skywalker.
That is true, but at the same time, like, you're working with a logical time jump within the story itself, where the old actors can play themselves.
Yeah.
Where like going back into, not gonna spoil some things for you, so I'm just gonna right there, because you're not there yet.
What, Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not at the. I mean, I saw the ending of the Mandalorian.
Okay, so
like,
you know what
yeah,
happens.
yeah, I know what happens.
Okay, so well, going into that, obviously you have to cast someone else. Like, you can't just bring him in.
Sebastian Stan.
It would have worked. It would have worked.
I'm still waiting for it. Like,
hot take. The guy that they cast for young Han Solo, I think he looks perfectly like young Han Solo.
I liked Han Solo.
The Solo
I liked
movie?
the Solo
It
movie.
was fun.
I didn't think it was like great or groundbreaking, but I thought it was fun, and I thought if they were gonna do solo one-off Star Wars movies, this is fine.
Yeah, like as it's just like a one-off, it sets up what you need to set up. It explains how you get some money in Falcon, because that's what the purpose of the story is. That's all it is. But
by all means, we didn't even need the Kessel Run, but we got it.
Yeah, we got the Kessel. Like, cool, sweet. He cheated and lied about that too, but it's him. It's him. But the movie, when I saw it, I had seen it much later. It had already released like on DVD and Blu-ray and all that. But I went in with very low expectations because I had heard that it was a terrible movie. I was like, all right, well, I'll watch it to complete the set. And I actually enjoyed it. I had fun. The character of Kira was really underutilized, but from more recent things that are happening in shows, it seems like her part's going to be expanded.
Oh, that's cool.
You're not there yet.
Did they come back? Is Crimson Dawn coming back?
I can't disclose anything. But there are seeds.
I was interested in where that story was going, and like whenever I see the construction's back.
Well, just if you hear that, it's just me farting.
Yeah.
Like you put up the
I put up the thing. It's the cartons are behind that wall of pillows and other boxes.
Since we're trying different DIY soundproof methods.
Which honestly, I think it's working pretty good.
Hell yeah, because I told you what to do. I'm kidding.
But yeah, I assume that you're not on Book of Boba Fett yet. If you're
No.
And I'm hearing mixed reactions, so I'm just trying to ignore any
honestly,
reactions
it's
to
a
it.
slow burn. Like I had to, like I watched the first episode. I'm like, this is okay. Like, and I'm
I mean, Mando kind of gets a slow start.
Empire Strikes Back is my favorite, so Boba Fett is my goat.
I was watching someone reacting because I've been watching a lot of reaction videos.
Mhm.
I was watching a reaction video for it's Mr. Video, so watch his channel because I will just promote his channel for free because I love that guy.
He's so great.
He's watching Empire or not, it was Return, and it's the Sarlacc pit scene, and he's like, "Oh, you shooting at my boy Luke?" And it's Boba Fett. And then he gets taken out later in the fight, and he's like, "Ah, how's he just gonna take it out like that? Ah, whatever. That's what he gets for shooting at my boy." I ain't gonna lie, his armor was dope though. And I'm like, "Yep, that's exactly what everyone else thought in 1981."
That's exactly not even 81, 79.
Yeah, 79 was an Empire drop.
Came
Yeah.
out. But that's like it's definitely a slow burn. The first episode is kind of hard to get to. The second episode's also it's a little bit easier, but like I had to push myself past those. Episode 3 and 4 have been solid though. Like solid. Mando
It wasn't
level.
until episode 4 that I was like in on Mando.
Yeah, and so that's where I feel like you kind of have to get to episode 4, because now they've gone past all the establishing stuff. They're definitely going into it, and seeing as it's Jon Favreau who's doing it too, like it makes sense. It's the exact same sort of writing style he has. Robert Rodriguez is doing an amazing job of directing it. Like that dude has some serious talent. I've always known it, but he gets overshadowed by Tarantino.
I mean, I fucking love Robert
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez.
But I mean, I think that's us as Latinos. We're like, no, this is the guy.
Yeah, this is the guy. This is Spy Kids.
It's like, did you guys not? Have you seen Spy Kids 2? That's like top 10 greatest sequels of all time.
It's pretty.
Whoa. Top 5. Come on.
I'm sorry. I forgot. So good. It's like Cheech Marine didn't need to come back.
No,
But he
didn't.
But he did.
He did it for us.
All right. So we're looking on the horizon for Star Wars. We have, for the most part, even though we've been let down, we're still pretty optimistic, which I think that's something that's just the longevity of Star Wars at this point.
Yeah, I feel like Star Wars or Disney has. Oh no! I said that word.
Demonetized. It's cool. My show's pretty raunchy.
We've kind of figured we're only gonna get sponsors.
Yeah.
I'm just working till I get that Raid Shadow Legends deal.
Raid Shadow Legends. Okay, so Disney has done a fairly they bungle with the sequel trilogy.
I think they've done a better job with Star Wars than they have with the Muppets.
Oh, well, absolutely. But the thing is, the Muppets.
Let's not get into that. That's not a topic.
So with Star Wars, they have done a fairly decent job, and I can't even say fairly decent. It's a very 50-50
Like
job.
passable.
Yeah, it's a passable grade.
It's a D.
Yeah, it's a
D.
D. It's a D plus. It's a D plus. I'll give them a D plus because the movies haven't really got up to snuff.
No, but I don't think they ever were.
Yeah.
With the scrutiny of A, the fandom.
Yeah.
B, the last mainline Star Wars movie that came out was Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Which is the second best Star Wars movie.
I mean, Clone
Absolutely.
Wars was going for a cool minute. That was kind of sustaining Star Wars.
Bringing back that last season of the Clone Wars was great idea. The Bad Batch, amazing. I want to say anything on Disney Plus that they've done is top tier so far. Again, Boba Fett, slow burn. Mando, even a slow burn too.
But I think we're all really looking forward to Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, no, Obi-Wan. Okay, that's where
it's all gonna come to a head.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan needs to be good. If it is not in any which
That's
way,
it. That's the nail in the coffin.
yeah. Because the thing is, we know it's not the actor. We know it's not the actors. As much as people want to bag on Hayden Christensen for being a bad Darth Vader, he was an amazing Darth Vader going through a really terrible time. Attack of the Clones was clearly him wanting to be evil, but he's just like, no, you're not there yet. You're not there. You gotta wait.
Well, and then it was like I want to be this character, like, but the direction was you can't yet. You're still holding in your emotions
still
this whole
holding
time because you're a
everything.
Jedi.
You're
And like that's like, oh, we can't act. It's like you guys don't get it. He can't show emotion because he's a Jedi.
He's a Jedi. And then Revenge of the Sith comes out. I was like, oh, okay, no, he's actually good.
Yeah,
Like,
he's more
doing it.
confident
Yeah,
now, and he's
yeah.
like,
he wait, what? He can act, and so that's where I'm like, all right, you got Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan. Come on.
we have what, Joel Egerton coming back as Uncle Owen.
Yeah.
And so you have the cast. That's great. I'm sure they're gonna have someone if they're gonna end up doing that has to be the finale. That has to be the finale. Is the what we saw in what was it, Clone Wars? No, Rebels, right? Where Darth Maul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan. Rebels also was it Disney? Was what Disney?
It was technically, no, I think it was
It was a
it was-
carryover, right?
it was a carryover because it was still in Lucas days, but it premiered on Disney
yeah,
XD.
yeah. So then I guess not. But I'll give him credit. Like that was well done. Except for towards the end, it was a little.
But you're right. I think it does come to. I mean, oh God, do you think we'll get Vader versus Maul?
If we do, it's not going to be that great because obviously we know that they will survive.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well, then but that's what could make the fight good in theory. Is like granted it's low stakes.
Yeah, then that's where the issue is. Like, there's no low stakes. That's exactly how I felt.
But I think you can
about
still have
another
a lot of
Disney
good
property.
fights that are.
I mean,
once it like
we-
stops himself, I'm like, no, I don't care about those storylines in WWE. Never mind. If there's not a title on the line, I don't care.
Yeah, like it's if there's no stakes in it, then it's like it's cool. Like it'll be fan service. It'll be great fan service. I'll enjoy it, but there's nothing guiding it forward. And that's where the issue is going to be. But don't get me wrong, I would love to see Maul fight Vader, or not even Maul, but like just someone like just give me another like what's his race? Zabrak. Give me another Zabrak. Like one of his like cousins who's just, and then Vader can kill him.
Yeah, they
Like-
did that. They did that in like, well, we can't kill Maul. Let's make another Zabrak that we can just.
let's make his brother, and then we can kill him because we can't kill Maul. Maul's got to go.
What if they went woke and they make another Zabrak that's female?
Oh, that's fine.
I mean, that-
Disney woke.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if it's done well, like.
Alright, so speaking of fan service, I know it's not technically a topic, but we're all here, so I think it's a good transition topic. Spider-Man,
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
It is a good transition topic. 'cause we
Right?
can
I'm
talk
like,
about-
I'm gonna pull a Sean. Like,
Yeah.
let's get a little off track for a second.
Be still, my beating heart. No Way Home
Oh,
is hands down the single greatest
Yes.
Spider-Man 3.
yes. Yes.
It's so good. It makes you want another Spider-Man 3.
It really does.
It
I'm
literally
like,
makes you
make
want another
Amazing
Spider-Man.
3,
Like,
make
give us Amazing 3. Like,
we'll take it.
Right.
It's been a while. That's fine.
I went in with high expectations, granted, because
I think everyone went in with high
Everyone did.
expectations.
I had seen the leaks. I had seen all the reports and everything that was going on. I was already calling Andrew Garfield a liar. But going into it, it was so much better than I had hoped that it could be, just in the feel of it all.
Yeah.
Like,
What I love is it's just such a good comic book story.
yeah,
Without all of the nostalgia hype and all the pops, it still would have been a solid Spider-Man story.
yeah, absolutely.
Like, we got Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Yeah.
That didn't need to happen.
It was
Absolutely didn't need to be in
They
there.
it could have been
so
another actor, and they
good.
could have said it was Murdoch, and we
Yeah.
still would have freaked out because
Yeah.
we still would have been like, "Oh my god, it's a Daredevil
Yeah.
cameo!"
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
it was so
absolutely.
good.
It could have been literally anyone that was there, but the fact that it was Charlie Cox made it so much better. We got all the spider memes, like literally all of them. We got the pointing. I'm something of a scientist
I
myself.
loved it. I loved
Like-
it.
Where's the web come from?
Yeah, we got the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Like literally everything.
I'm the lame Spider-Man. No, you're amazing.
I loved that. But okay, so when he was doing that, I legitimately wanted him to just say, "You're an amazing Spider-Man. You're the amazing Spider-Man." that would have been like
Uh,
on top of it all. But like they got my back hurt, like
Everything.
everything. Like, and it was honestly what I was expecting was for the two Peters to come in like at the final battle. Like
I was expecting way less Peters. I was
Yeah.
expecting way less Spider-Mans.
I was expecting
And
way-
we got so much scenes with them.
yeah. I was expecting them to come at like last minute. Like honestly, I was expecting them to come to swing in when MJ was falling. I always knew it was going to be Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
pitching.
everyone knew.
Like-
They wouldn't have filmed it unless it was
Yeah.
because they filmed it exactly
They
to
filmed it
mirror the
specifically to mirror Gwen Stacy falling, and so I knew that he was gonna come in, but I just thought he was gonna like swing in and be like, "Hey, I'm Peter."
No, but they made a whole character
Yeah.
arc moment out of it
No,
for
and
him.
then
and
they completely went in like they referenced that he had failed to kill Gwen Stacy or sorry,
no, he
Save.
successfully killed Gwen Stacy.
failed to save Gwen Stacy. And like it was that redemption arc, and it also just showed that when it came to the Amazing Spider-Man movies, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't Andrew Garfield's fault. It was completely the writers. Like the story was all over the place. He had the chemistry with his Gwen Stacy. He's a great actor, like on himself, like by himself. His Aunt May was amazing. I mean, it's Sally Field. Like, come on, like you have all these great like ingredients to make a good movie, and with just shoddy
But
writing,
it was a mid 2000s movie
yeah, and
I was
Post-
heavy.
post Raimi Spider-Man.
it was
a heavy
post
board
Raimi's
interference, studio interference was a
Yeah.
huge thing with that one.
and it was a lot of it. It's kind of similar like to what happened with the DCU or DCEU. Apologies. That they saw what Marvel was doing, and so they were trying to rush into the fray, do the exact same.
And
sort
it
of
was
thing.
Sony with a limited Spider-Man
Yeah.
universe.
Granted, you can do
I-
so
we
much.
we've
with the
been
Spider-Man.
rewatching the 90s show, and it's like this doesn't have like a lot of Marvel characters. This is
Yeah.
all the characters Sony has right now, and like they can just be doing these storylines.
Yeah, exactly. Like the one time where like they brought in anything else was when he's mutating and they go to the X-Men.
Yeah, and then the Punisher was also in an
Yeah.
episode, like the Punisher and Blade, but like
I'm sure Daredevil was in there a few times too.
Yeah. yeah,
same-
he
Which
was in
they
a
only brought
two-parter.
in Blade because of the Morbius storyline.
Yeah, Blade was only in there for the Morbius
Yeah.
storyline.
which they have full access to. Which I think the Blade movies, the original Blade movies, what were they? Were they Sony?
You know what? That's a great question. Let me fact check.
Yeah, I think they were. They were New Line. No,
They were
I
New-
100% I know they were New Line Cinema.
They were New Line.
Yeah, which doesn't exist anymore.
No,
I think it was bought out by Warner Brothers.
New Line. New Line was it's a subsidy of Warner Brothers. It always was.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like their art house. Like Miramax is for Disney, or was for Disney. Miramax.
All right. Now Disney has Fox for that.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Well, we did get to comics. So, speaking of fan pleasing in comics,
Mhm.
we're about 4 years out now from the controversy of Comicsgate.
I'm not 100% aware of what this is.
Yes, your correct is New Line.
So to sum it up without us becoming late picky, so in that we're choosing sides, I'm gonna go with it was a movement of it was essentially well-known fans on YouTube
Mhm.
and Twitter were basically going to war with writers and artists that were pushing in a lot of progressive woke material
Oh, okay.
into comics.
That makes sense.
Doesn't even need to know any of the details. That makes
That
sense.
sounds like something they did.
Yeah.
I used to read comics. I know the fan base. That sounds like something they did.
Yeah. Now,
well, that's
sadly, me and Anika did stop reading a lot of comics because a lot of these types of comics are being written.
I mean, we weren't going on YouTube and rage typing about
Yeah,
them,
we weren't.
but...
We weren't. I wasn't. We weren't writing death threats to the
Yeah.
writers, but which
but
obviously
we
isn't the
did
best
end up
thing. But
canceling a
It was
lot of
like
our
a lot of it
subscriptions.
was on Bendis, right? If I remember.
It
correctly.
There was a few.
there was a few. Mark Wade was like the big.
He got really vocal because he
Like
took it
he
very personal.
full on got
the
into like a
internet.
lawsuit with another one of these creators, like
Yeah.
because he tried blocking this dude from like releasing a comic book
Mhm.
because all the writers were telling this one guy like if you hate it, write your own comic. So he fucking did. So
And it wasn't even his first comic. He had written another comic before that was based off of, because he was a veteran.
Mm.
so
It was
he
based off
so
of
he,
one of his other fellow vets' story. So,
Okay.
so he'd
So-
written a comic before.
he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but it became a whole.
And it was other artists had to like pick like
She said he
the
should.
artist that infamously like picked a side was Ethan Van Sciver,
Uh-huh.
and he was very very much a pro comic skate guy. Like I think to this day he still makes videos bashing on other shit that's happening in comics.
Mm-hmm. You said this was 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2018. I'd say it was about. It really started like in
Honestly, it could've-
2016, like with the types of
Yeah.
the infamous like milestone moment that started it was Mockingbirds asking me about my feminist agenda T-shirt,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of remember this.
and then
This was like maybe a year out after I had stopped reading comics.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that
that's
that's about when
exactly what
we
happened
yeah.
to-
And even then, like even when I stopped reading it, I started to notice it like
So
popping up.
And it's
so there was a moment for us where we went to go pick up our weeklies,
Mhm.
and I had my pull stack, and I was sorting through them to see, because they were doing all the events, and so I couldn't always get everything at once. And I had subscribed to Spider Woman,
Mhm.
and then like
And
four,
was a-
5 comics in,
it was a number one.
was it really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right, because like okay.
because again it was that era where they were just
It was
relaunching number
her
ones every
on
other
the
week.
cover being pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
so
that.
I ended up not buying that comic, and even our
Actually, you know what? It might have been a 4 or 5.
right, because she had
I think
done
it's- I
Silk
think it's 4.
beforehand. I
I
think
think
it was
it's 4.
4. So I handed it back to the guy. I'm like, I'm not gonna get that one because I'm a young woman and I don't want to read about a pregnant woman. That's
Yeah.
just like I was what 18, 19 at the time.
Yeah, you're a young woman that didn't want to think about having kids.
Yeah. So I handed it to my comic book guy, and he's like, he didn't want to ask because he knew this was becoming more prevalent in the comics, but it was, can I ask why you don't want to buy this one?
You reply
And I'm
like, it's...
I don't want to see a pregnant woman fighting crime.
and he's
That's
like,
not
cool. He's like,
safe.
cool. Like, I don't want to.
I'm like, there's a bunch of shit they're not supposed to do when they're pregnant. I'm pretty sure.
That's one of them.
It's like, even if it's like not fighting, probably shouldn't be flying with her hollow bones.
Yeah.
From
And
And,
and
like-
like historically, it's not like super heroines, whatever you want to call them. Like it's not like they haven't been pregnant in the past.
Yeah.
yeah.
You've had Mockingbird has a kid.
Sue Storm had a kid,
Sue Storm had a kid.
but they didn't have her.
2 kids.
Yeah, they didn't have her fighting while pregnant. They brought
Yeah.
in She-Hulk and like, all right, well, She-Hulk's gonna be the 4th member, but we're still
Yeah.
gonna have Sue Storm in
Yeah,
stories.
you're gonna have her story, but it's gonna be like she's at home resting.
And dealing with the chaos
Yeah,
that is
deal-
having super babies.
Yeah, like dealing with all that sort of stuff.
Non-comic related, Charmed had a whole season where one of the characters was pregnant and she was fighting demons and everything like that, but that was still very much the argument they were having the entire time in the
Like, you
series is
shouldn't be doing
you
this.
shouldn't be going out and doing this.
And it was Charmed, so she's like, well, I have to deal with Rose McGowan and Melissa Milano, so I'm the only one that can deal with this. I'm the only one that can.
Like, do you know what'll happen to this show if I'm not here?
To the point where when like later on when the actress was pregnant, they just made her a head. Like, oh, we can't write in another baby. You're just a head now for like the rest of the season.
But
So
so comics game.
yeah, but that was basically the crux of it, and we're not buying.
We haven't been buying in a
We haven't been buying
while.
comics for a long time, and a lot of it has contributed to, and the battle's still kind of raging now because to this day, comic artists are all saying, "Oh, comics are bigger than ever," but the comics that are selling the most by volume are manga.
Yeah, of course.
Like no American comic reaches past 10,000
Yeah.
units except for Batman.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Batman.
Batman,
Batman's the only one.
Spider-Man,
Everyone else is
Superman.
only
The
getting
big-
the
the-
single.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And even there was reportedly a meeting between Bob Chapek and Kevin Feige, where Kevin Feige was like, getting ready to pitch their next Marvel characters for their next movies, and Bob Chapek looked at the the numbers for how much that character sold in comics or sold in comics. And he's like,
why am I gonna make movies about these characters because they don't sell anything?
Yeah, like I'm assuming Ironheart was one of them.
that was exactly the character in question.
Ironheart,
Exactly
Miss
the
Marvel.
character in question.
Thinking of the lineup that's coming up. Ironheart?
Like, did you hear the announcement for New Warriors?
I did not.
Oh my God, you haven't seen Snowflake in Safe Space?
No, God.
No, so let's not get too much into that.
I'm like super out of the loop. I'm sorry. I have
No,
kids.
that's fine.
No,
that's
it's fine. No, well then that's just it. It's, you have kids. It's like you're not making your kids read comics. Your kids aren't trying to read comics.
No, and you know, Brandon. He's gotten into comics, but it's all the classic stuff. Like it's all like he read through Long Halloween. He even read
Long Halloween. That's a
That's
how.
good.
Yeah.
You let your child
No,
read that.
no, Brandon's a preteen. He's
he's a preteen.
yeah.
Okay,
That's when
okay,
you
okay,
could.
okay.
He read Black Mirror.
Black Mirror's
yeah,
good.
Black
those
Mirror's
are
a great
those
one.
are those are
Yeah,
classic. Those are classics.
Yeah. And so he read through those, and he was like, "Oh, these are pretty good." And then I bought him. He was gifted some newer ones, and he looked at them and was like, "It's all right." It's like, why? Well, why? He's like, no,
I was not into them.
okay.
Come on. Terrence got me a few volumes like a few Christmases ago when this whole transition thing was happening, and so I ended up reading them, and he's like, "So did you actually like them?" I was like, "I liked parts of them." There's some questionable decisions made during this.
So like one of the big things that like me and Anika have a problem with is they keep making all these characters bi and gay now, and we don't have a problem with the fact that they're making these characters bi or gay. It's that they're not doing it well.
They're not writing it well at all. It's like this could be compelling storytelling, and you're not doing it.
Like they're bringing in like new random characters with I don't want like single, but like they're like colored hair type characters that are just one-off nobodies.
Yeah.
And it's like they recently the whole thing with like Robin was bi and then like Superboy was bi, and it's like, well, why don't you just have them date each other?
Yeah.
Like why did they have to have two separate random
relationships
that I'm not going to care about?
Yeah, that we don't care
when you
about.
could just have
them
Robin and Superboy Frenching on a front cover and sell a ton of issues.
Yeah, because then that also adds to like the just like that sort of urgency like between the relationship and like the job that they're doing. Like now it's that extra layer of like they're in danger, that's someone I care about, like let me go out of my way, putting myself at risk to go save them. Like it adds that sort of like where it's essentially, and I'm assuming that I have never read any of the newer comics I saw,
and we haven't. This is all based on like,
but I can only guess that a lot of the writing is coming from the same sort of like essence where in TV shows and comedies, men don't know how to write women, and the reason is they keep thinking that women need to be written differently. Like, I don't know how to write a woman because I don't know what a woman.
You just need to write a character.
The thing is, you don't need to write for a woman. You just write for a character, and then you just cast the character as a woman. The same way that with like gay superheroes, you write two superheroes in a relationship, and it just so happens that they're both male. Like that's all you need because you can.
Apollo and Midnighter was.
Yeah.
People praised Apollo and Midnighter.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can just write the relationship. It doesn't have to be like, like they're blatantly this, they're blatantly this, or they're thinking this way. It's because yes, I get it. You're not gay. You as the writer may not be gay, so you don't understand like the intricacies of a gay relationship, but you understand the intricacies of a relationship. Like I don't want to say like a regular relationship because the relationships are relationship. You understand how a relationship works, whether it be man and woman, or they're all the same. You love each other one day, someone burps, and then now you're hate each other. Like that's how a relationship works, and so you understand that you can write that into a story, and then you just make the characters like male. That's all you do. You just don't draw the titties. And that's where my stance is with that when it comes to a lot of just woke culture writing is that they're doing it for the culture and just like. That's what they're pushing for. They're not pushing for the story. They're pushing to make it like, oh no, this is a woke story. Like this is we understand like diversity and we understand.
It's like, we could have those types of stories that are still good without making that like the
Yeah,
overarching theme. It can just be an undertone.
yeah, you make it undertone. Don't make it like, don't put it like in your face. Like, this is what this is. It's like, no, like, make a good story, and then you can just add, like, weave that in. Like, that's how normal life is. It's not all in your face. Normal life is that, oh yeah, this is my friend. Yeah, he's gay. Oh, cool. Like, all right, let's go on. Like, it's not like, oh, this is my friend. Look at him. He is so gay. Like, he's fashionable and this, all this, and it's like, no, like, that's not people. That's not writing.
That's
like,
not the way.
That's not the way you interact.
Nobody
with
talks
people.
like that.
Okay, like, cool.
It's like you don't introduce someone and tell them all your dreams and aspirations
Exactly.
the first time.
Yeah, no, you gotta lie a few times.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like, oh no, I'm just up to stuff right now.
No, I just did.
Which even like this goes into characters like Miles Morales, because I remember like, and Miles Morales predates a lot of all this, but I remember it was a huge controversial moment, and it was a big like, well, I don't. That's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm still like, that's like, I've accepted it and of him as a character because Spider-Man 2018, the game was.
They've done a lot.
They've done Miles has had a lot done for him outside of comics that makes him a better character.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta take a picture to show my wife. Wow. let me take a good one. There we go. All right.
Proof where he is.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, with Miles Morales.
Yeah, to this day, I mean, I feel like his stories have been done better, which is again what I've been saying is if these stories are just done well in the first place, it's not gonna be something that like, oh, okay, it's
like that's you. The main thing is you just gotta focus on the story. Don't focus on the character. Don't focus on what, like, I don't want to say agenda,
what
but
point you're trying to get across.
What point you're trying to get across, that you can still do all that and still write a really relevant and moving story.
Yes.
And all it comes down to is that you just don't focus on the thing that you're trying to get across. You want to make Spider-Man black? That's fine. Like, Spider-Man, like, even Stan Lee has said before that one of the best things about having Spider-Man completely covered head to toe was that anybody can be Spider-Man. Like, it doesn't matter who's underneath the suit, because the Spider-Man is the suit. Anybody can be Spider-Man. You just need to have the powers. And so having Miles Morales as his own Spider-Man, like, yeah, you can give him his own personality because he's a different person. He's not Peter. It lends you some, like, you can do some nice things on the side when he's not in costume, but in costume, he's still Spider-Man. He's still doing the exact same things that Peter would do. Like, he's rescuing people, he's saving people, but it's not like he's doing it with attitude or, like, something that someone feels like they need to impart on him as a way to get across that he's what, half black, half
Latino.
Latino. It's a Puerto Rican, right?
Yeah.
You don't need
Afro Latino.
Yeah. You don't need to like put that into his character, like, or like write his word bubble
Or
a
do
certain
with that
way.
accent
like,
and stuff
give
like
him
that.
an
Yeah.
accent. Like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, he's just a person. Like, he's a person. He might
Miles Morales like, I asked you a question.
Yeah, you don't need to write Samuel L. Jackson as Miles Morales. You just write Miles Morales. You might, okay, if you're gonna give him an accent.
Where's
like,
Vulture, motherfucker?
If you give him an accent, like, he's from New York, all right, fine, you got a New York accent, so you add in the New York accent, whatever, but he's from the Bronx. They don't really have an accent.
I'm Californian. I think everyone has an American accent till I hear it.
Yeah, you really do. Like, it's different. Like, it's
like the Midwest obviously has an accent, but like when you hear,
apparently Californians do too. And
We do.
we can't hear it.
We can't hear when we talk.
Tried
Tried.
my hardest to hear it, and I can't.
It's essentially just English, but very lazy.
Yeah, like, there's times where I can, like, oh, okay. Now.
So what it is actually, as Californians, we speak on our tonsils at the very back of our throat, and it kind of like sits there, so it's a little low
yeah.
and
I don't have
grumble.
Yeah, I was gonna say
and-
like this man has
Oh,
his
that's
tonsils
right.
removed.
I
Yeah.
have tonsils.
All right. Well, that was a quick review of. I mean, basically, we haven't progressed much farther. It's basically become a lot of creators are kind of.
I mean, they're gonna do the Death of the Justice League. That'll totally boost
That's
sales.
gonna sell comics for
Yeah.
sure.
And like, when it comes down to it, it's the story that they're trying to tell. And if they want to focus on reaching out as many people as possible to bring them in, you're going to alienate the base that you've already had. Like that's always the issue. It kind of was the issue with Star Wars too. Is that
It's
the more
what I'm
people you try to
understanding
reach-
is the issue that like WWE has these days.
yeah.
Is because you have a lot of fans like, well, this isn't like this isn't like Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression. It's like, okay, but like,
You have to realize things change.
yeah, I think that's still kind of bigger than ever. It's not like,
Yeah.
They're still getting 3 million views every episode.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't know about that.
it's like a little less than 2, but all right. Well, that was a nice review of Comicsgate. Moral of the story is,
Should be better writers.
not only that, but
okay, let's do the transition. Which, speaking of pleasing audiences,
Yeah, well, yes. Okay, so we're talking about Star Wars and Comicsgate. Those were incidences of fans and audiences kind of being at war with their corporate masters. Speaking of corporate masters pleasing the masses, Microsoft buys Blizzard Activision, the biggest deal of the year, of probably ever.
we're gonna have to talk about this again later. 'cause
We're
I want
talking
Sean
about
to-
this with Sean and Jordan later.
So as I told you guys before we started filming, and I still feel this, it is the greatest thing to happen to Blizzard, but the worst thing to happen to Activision.
I mean,
Blizzard under Activision has essentially been like
Oh, everyone's complained about it since day one. Since day one.
Day one, they have complained about it. The Blizzard division has been ripped to shreds. The one good thing that came out of like everything was that like they got rid of like all of the shitheads at Blizzard. Like I can't remember his name. The one who was like super he was like super sexist and all that. I can't remember. He just got kicked out. They had that whole movement in Blizzard of like how they were mistreating their female employees, and that's definitely something that had it been under Microsoft, like it wouldn't have never happened. But since it was under Activision, like that's for norm. That's whatever.
And like that's all part of the deal is them getting the CEO of Activision out.
Yeah,
like
and that's what's been so great about it is that Activision CEO is gone.
like
And I'm not expecting Microsoft to build up Blizzard. Like, if you look at the games that Activision still brings them money, like Call of Duty is a franchise that's never gonna die, and they keep pumping out games, keeps making them money. I mean, now they're all going to be Xbox exclusives. But
do you really think they'll? My friend
I'm-
Ryan wants to like. I don't think they'll throw off that money opportunity because which Anika made a good point of this, which I'll combine the 2 points, which is he said there's no way they're gonna surrender making that much money off of Sony.
oh yeah,
And Anika said this is going to be the opportunity that Xbox has to strong arm Sony into crossplay.
that's probably how it's going to be.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
Because Call of Duty is the game
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah, that's hands down the game that they're going to be able to do that on. And so yeah, it's probably going to be their bargaining chip for that to just get it done.
Which they even said in their statement on getting it, which is this is all looking forward to the metaverse.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we've talked about the metaverse a bit on the show. We just think it's going to be like the Oasis in its perfect form.
Mm-hmm. For now.
Which
Perfect.
yeah, till it becomes the super dystopian
Yeah.
version.
every dystopia starts with a utopia.
Yeah.
So it won't affect us.
Yeah, so it won't affect us. Just our
kids,
kids,
our
kids.
grandkids.
Just posterity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, this has been because I mean, I'm Xbox fanboy. I mean, I have a PlayStation, but
Yeah.
like,
I mean, I'm not ruling out the idea that it will become an Xbox exclusive, and I feel like a lot of people are optimistically hoping it won't be the case, but I'm not ruling it out.
If it's not an Xbox,
It'd be a great way for them to fuck.
they'll
over
get
somebody.
like the 30-day
Yeah.
exclusives,
they'll
or
get like mad exclusives for doing it on Xbox or PC.
yeah, they'll get the launch window.
Yeah, they'll get early release. Like it's gonna be insane. Like the rewards for getting it for Xbox or PC is gonna be infinitely better than what you do for the Sony systems.
Well, like even 2 years ago, I said to Anika, unless you're playing JRPGs, there isn't really an actual benefit to why you're playing on PlayStation.
Yeah, they're exclusives. They have neglected for quite some time. Like, don't get me wrong, I love God of War.
And that's it. Is the only exclusives I have that I play on my PlayStation are God of War and
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, like technically Final Fantasy also.
Oh yeah.
And I play Kingdom Hearts on my PlayStation, but I could do that on my Xbox
Yeah,
these
Kingdom
days.
Hearts came out,
But
like,
Kingdom Hearts I play on PlayStation just for nostalgia.
yeah,
like that's
what it came out on
yeah.
originally. And same thing here. Like, I have it for PlayStation, and I was expecting it to continue as an exclusive, but then I saw it was Xbox. I'm like, oh,
And then they full on
that's nice.
and then they full on went backwards compatible and released all the
yeah.
final mixes for
Yeah,
Xbox.
it's
I was like, whoa, okay.
Okay, so you're just going all in on the money hog. All right, cool.
Money, 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 money.
And you know, for Square Enix, that makes sense. Like, they're a third party. They're
trying to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
But God forbid they put Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox.
No, never. I mean,
They re-released Final Fantasy VII for Xbox, but they haven't released remake for X.
Okay, that's fine. 7 is fine. Remake, no. I still haven't even gotten part 2. Where is part 2? I have a PS4. I can't get the Yuffie download. Like, at least give me part 2.
It's never coming.
Yeah. I'd like to.
How many kids you got? 2? You're still gonna, once you have your third kid, that's when
yeah, that's when part 2 will come out.
Part 2 will come out.
Lucas will be graduating high school.
Right, he'll have already finished part 2.
Yeah, I'll be old and gray when I can finally beat Sephiroth for the in part 5.
Have you started getting grays yet?
No.
No.
I'm immortal.
I've had.
Call me Keanu
That's because you
Reeves.
didn't go to university.
Yeah, because you didn't go to.
I had 3 for every one for each year I was in college.
I actually straight up have one right here right now. I had one on each side here.
No, it's 100% due to the fact that my body is 90% Monster Energy drink.
Oh.
No sponsorship.
That makes a lot of sense.
There's no blood running through my veins. It's just pure green Monster. If I drink water, I die.
I understand entirely.
Soda drinker
I just
and the energy
drinks
drinker.
black stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking to tea for now. Alright, was that all our topics?
That's all our topics. Oh, I do have one more thing to say. I've actually determined after reassessing the entire Star Wars saga, Sebulba is the hero. If Sebulba had won the pod race, he would have saved the galaxy from the tyranny of Darth Vader. And Sebulba was actively antagonistic towards Jar Jar Binks, the most hated character of the prequel trilogy.
Well, that's because he knew that Jar Jar Binks was the Dark Lord.
Exactly. So Sebulba was actually the tragic hero.
I can't even. That sound logic. It just makes sense.
It's like Sebulba's the hero. Sebulba's the good guy. Everyone.
Yeah,
Thank.
No.
I didn't want to call the show. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for being here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Can't wait till we have you on another
Yeah,
one.
she'll definitely come back.
Annika, we'll have you on another show later today.
Yes.
Which you guys
won't see me.
you won't see her, but she'll be there.
Sexism returns.
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone. Good night from everyone here.
Good night.